bright and sunny out. We're going to go ride motorcycles after work.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's living the life.
I'm pretty excited. Yeah. I have 2 motorcycles, and last week my husband took my truck. And so I was like, I'll ride my big motorcycle, which I have not ridden since I bought a little one in October.
Nice. Do you go on long rides or just short rides around your town?
We do both. I was when I went to Ohio a few weeks ago, I was planning on riding my motorcycle up there, and it's about 7 to 8 hours each way.
Wow. One city?
And then I thought it was supposed to rain both days that I would have been riding.
Oh, wow.
Not interested in that. It's a fair weather activity for me.
Yeah. But wait, 8 hours of riding a motorcycle, is that one city only or just...
I don't think my butt could handle sitting on a seat that long.
Right?
Let alone the gas issue. Yeah.
Well, some days I can forget that I'm sitting for that long and just keep doing work.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
But riding a bike, staying like this for 8 hours, like your arms get tired. But...
And I don't have cruise control, so you gotta be
fully aware.
Well, thanks for wearing a gun shirt. I like the branded merch on the podcast.
I'm branded, right?
I just have my sweatshirt.
This is not my uniform. I'm wearing this. Yeah, I had 3 of this made, a gray one and two black ones. This is not my uniform.
Nice. Right. Represent. I only have my zip up, and it's in the 80s here, so
I don't get to wear that enough here in Brazil. Definitely not. Most of the time, not the weather to wear those.
No. Are you in the northern part of the country?
South, but still, yeah, it's pretty warm. We're getting into winter, but it's still not cold enough.
All right. Well, David G, we are here. This is like a huge one for this week in history. I feel like you really can't talk about computers at all without talking about Alan Turing.
Yeah.
I'll kind of read through this rundown. It was really hard to condense this because the life this man led was just so big.
Right?
Yeah. British mathematician, logician, and cryptanalyst Alan Turing was born in London, England on June 23rd, 1912. From a very young age, he showed aptitude for math and logic, eventually landing at King's College in Cambridge. While he was there in the 1930s, he found the concept of the universal Turing machine, which is a theoretical mathematical device that could compute anything that is computable. That feels very broad, but that's kind of like how else would you describe it? To this day, it's the most widely used model of computation in computability and complexity theory. Both things I don't have much knowledge in. After that, he went on to get a PhD in mathematics from Princeton in 1938 and wound up going back to England. During World War II, he worked at Bletchley Park, which was Britain's secret code-breaking center. It was there that he made possibly his most renowned contributions to the war efforts in decrypting German ciphers, including the Lorenz cipher and the previously unbreakable Enigma code, which the German High Command was using for all of their battlefield communications. So once they figured that out, they could always tell where the Germans were. They built the machines used to decrypt the Enigma messages, and the decryption of the German naval messages was vital to the Allied victory in the Battle of the Atlantic. And his work was estimated to have shortened the war by 2 to 4 years and saving over 14 million lives, which is just like, man.
Yeah.
With computers at a time when
it is amazing.
Computing wasn't even
a thing, like really.
No.
And I don't think I can imagine any other person in the computer science space that has saved so many lives. Like you can put that contribution and directly relate that to saving that amount of lives or more.
Yeah,
it's insane.
And it was, like even with all of the technology we have today, I don't know that technology has saved 14 million lives. put together.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in the late 40s and early 50s, while he was working at the University of Manchester, he did even more pioneering work that we still use in AI and computing. He was the one who proposed the Turing test to test whether a machine could exhibit intelligent behavior equivalent to a human. He also wrote papers on computer design, including uncomputable numbers, as well as descriptions of how to use the universal Turing machines. This is where it gets a little dark. In 1952, Turing was prosecuted for his homosexuality, which is pretty one of the most widely known facts about him and probably the most disturbing.
Yeah.
It was illegal in Britain at the time. He opted for chemical castration as opposed to prison, which, as we know, is not something that makes a change. It just ruins someone's life. Just 2 short years later, on June 7th, 1954, he died of cyanide poisoning. I listen to a lot of true crime podcasts.
Controversial, at least. Yeah.
Controversial at the very least. It was officially ruled a suicide, but could have been accidental poisoning, could have been not accidental poisoning.
Yeah. His mother says he was happy. Friends say he was happy. How happy you can be after going through that horrible chemical castration. But things were happening. He had a to-do list by his bed. Who has that with their
I can
committing
barely write
suicide?
to-do lists when I know I have to get up tomorrow and do stuff. On the upside, in 2009, British Prime Minister Gordon Brown made an official public apology on behalf of the British government for, quote, the appalling way he was treated. Queen Elizabeth II granted a posthumous pardon to him in 2013, and the term Alan Turing law is now used informally to refer to a 2017 law that went into effect in the UK that retroactively pardoned men who were cautioned, convicted, arrested, all of that under historical legislation that outlawed homosexuality. So
it took them a long time to get there. That's for sure.
Yeah, the fact that the British monarchy apologized in the first place, I feel
that's something. Yeah,
I'm sure a lot of people with artifacts in the British Museum would love to see them come around to that too. It's good that that still brought about some positive change in the UK on top of all he had already contributed.
Yeah. Imagine how many men had to suffer through that. He being one of the most famous one, but so many people suffered with that insanity, having people being chemically castrated for being homosexual. It's insane.
And to think, I mean, he was 41.
So young.
41. I will be 41 in a few months. Yeah,
I'm 37, and well, my whole career is based on the work of this man, but I'm nowhere near I've never made any contribution as relevant as those founding papers for computer science. Imagine at 41 dying, how much more he could have contributed. You would be like 111 today. So math, I don't do math in public, but that's probably it. Imagine if we get another, I don't know, 40 years of contributions from this man, and computer getting more advanced, how many more ideas he would have, right? And just in the cryptanalysis space, he lost his government clearance was revoked when he was persecuted. So just in that confined space, all of his contributions during the war and all of that, how much more he could have done if it wasn't for that, right? He didn't have access anymore. So that's such a shame. I don't know. We would probably have a lot more, and computer would be a lot more advanced, but had this man had more opportunity to go on living his life fully and producing more on the computer science space.
Do you think that it would have prompted, like the kind of the surge we see in AI right now? Do you think that that would have happened earlier?
Possibly, right? Because he was already thinking about that stuff in the 40s and 50s, and none of this, computing wasn't a thing, actually, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We would have been thinking about these things way earlier if he was still producing.
Which is also terrifying because look at how quickly we went from like 0 to 1,000 with AI just in the last, year or two.
Right? And that's like, as public facing AI feels like that, but uh, it, it's been like those 10-year overnight success. It's been
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
even if you talk about OpenAI alone, they've been for a long time building up to this, and getting capital and resources to make the thing that is now a revolution by having that distinct app that works like that, and other competitors moving closer to that and trying to compete with that. But yeah, a lot more. I think we would get there much sooner, um, if this man was still being fully capable of working on his research, after 40, 50, and going on with his life.
I mean, and that's still like, I think it's a testament to how important and how like intelligent he was. That the Turing test is still something that we use, even if it has, it's controversial in some ways. I don't know that there's, I don't know. My opinion is that it still feels like
It's
a
still
good way.
relevant.
It's
It's
still
still a
relevant.
thing.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was developed at a time where there wasn't um a host of external factors because those didn't
right.
exist, and that's for
You know,
better or worse. But like, would there be another way that doesn't have outside factors that you
I,
could even use?
I, I love when people propose like simple, elegant kind of solutions for things. And this one feels like super simple. It's a, it's a very straightforward premise, easy to understand, sets a clear benchmark for what we want to see as a machine feeling like it is intelligent, being able to mimic a human behavior. So I love the fact that it's simple like that, and
Mhm.
it's focused on the functionality, right? You don't get too much entangled in philosophical or psychological
Right,
aspects of it.
right,
It's purely observable behavior. You're looking at a machine, talking to a person. Can this machine deceive the person that it is another person, another human being talking to
right.
them? That's it. Elegant, simple, right?
Yep.
Um, so those are the, as I see, those are the strain points on this test and why it's still relevant today. And when you think about, on the other hand, as people criticize that, it has its limitations, and you think about, hey, we're talking about a test that is about deception, it's about uh, mimicking a behavior. So it feels kind of weird so that is the parameter for the test,
Yeah.
right?
Especially when you say you start studying out to mimic humans in some of the more important parts of life, where like like an AI can pass a bar exam in the US or pass a medical licensing exam. Um,
Exactly. It's narrow definition, right?
yeah.
It's only focusing on that one aspect of intelligence.
Hmm.
So you cannot apply that for more general behavior. So that's why people get to talk about narrow AI and more general AI, and how the field limits those ideas and advances on that. So it lacks understanding. And there are other tests. One that I really like is the, how do you call it? It's the coffee test, where the test it's also a simple premise where a robot is required to navigate an average American home and make coffee. So how do you find the kitchen? How do you go about finding the coffee machine and etc. And make coffee, right? If
Yeah.
you put a human being that knows what coffee is and the process of making coffee inside a house, they will be able to navigate open drawers and find
Yeah.
the coffee machine and do the things.
Yeah.
But it requires a lot of uh, cognitive knowledge for a computer to do that by itself. So
There are a lot of,
I,
because there are a lot of nuances of, like, does it make sense, um, which drawer would have the spoons in it? Or if
exactly. And
it's going to be the one that's closest to where, all the,
yeah,
where the dishwasher
and
is or
you
whatever.
find you find the coffee. Is it the grains, or do you have to grind it? Do you
Uh-huh.
get founder? Do you need to find a filter, or do you use a coffee machine that is automated? Well, it's so interesting. I really like that proposal because it's so simple, but it feels like, okay, if a computer can do that, I think it's fully aware of its surroundings.
Yeah. That's kind of terrifying.
We'll get there.
The first image that conjures up is like one of those crazy Boston Dynamics robots
Oh yeah, yeah.
going in your
Those are
house
scary.
coughing. But it's also like how far off is that really? And whether that can be used it obviously could be used for good to help people with like mobility limitations and stuff like that, but it could also be exploited
Yeah,
pretty easily. I also think it's interesting, like, because the work that he did on like cryptography, um, like those basics are things that we still use today in like security and passwords, and I mean, not to mention the myriad ways it's used in government and military operations. When you look at at security and cryptography and AI, like that's kind of like what the things we're still going through, we're still experiencing, we're still growing. And he was doing these 50, 70 years ago. Not 50. That would have been in the
yeah.
70s. But
When there were no computers around, can you imagine that?
like it wasn't even an emerging field, it was a non-existent field.
Exactly.
They got as far as like, trying to break code, but it certainly wasn't being done with computers. I don't know. Do you think he realized at the time, like the impact that his work would have, or the potential for it?
It's impossible to tell if he fully realized the potential, right? I think he had, by looking at the papers and the proposals he's making there, but the like theoretically on computer science, you can see the end game, how he's proposing a machine that can solve any problems.
Yeah.
So that's super interesting, but there's no one could have predicted, okay, this is going to give birth to the internet, and this is going to
Right.
allow people to connect all over the world. This is going to allow people to work remotely like we do. So, and so much of that, like you can trace back all of the discoveries and all the inventions on computer to his work, right? So even your smartphone,
Yeah.
right? So there's no way he could have fully realized the extent of his work, which is, it's amazing to see. And I don't know, I wish there was a way that we could show like these people that had such influence in the life of billions of people. If you could show them, hey, your work enabled this. By the time of his death, he he was probably fully aware, but that he saved millions of lives with his team on the Enigma machine work, trying to crack that, but not fully realize what would come next and where we are today. And with with the AI thing, we're far from the end game, right? This is just the beginning, what we're seeing with
Yeah.
Gen AI.
It's my understanding too that like he wasn't really allowed to talk much about the work.
Oh yeah,
And so I wonder, how would his life have been different, and how might he have been enabled to succeed or to live longer if the general population understood how like seriously just how fucking important this guy was.
Yeah.
Even at that point, I don't think it would be hard to overestimate.
To this day, most people don't know the influence this man had.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know. Maybe I don't know how much success the movie had. The Imitation Game movie. When was it? Like 10 years ago. That was fairly successful, but I have no idea how successful it was. But it was a good movie. But people don't fully understand how much influence this man had on like careers and of thousands of people like me, and just the growth of all of these things related to computing. It's incredible.
I mean, we wouldn't be here.
Literally, yes. We would never work together.
Yeah.
No jobs would be posted on Gun.io. Yes, this company exists. Yes.
I'm sure we could probably keep diving down various Turing related rabbit holes, but I will we'll save that for another time.
Yeah, there's so much more trivia.
Oh yeah.
He was pretty athletic. You know, he almost made it to the Olympics in 1948.
No way.
Yeah.
I didn't.
He had an injury and that held him back, but he was, yeah. He created the first chess program, and there was no computer around to run the program. Program called Turochamp. It could think 2 moves ahead, and Kasparov beat it. I don't know, a few years ago. Well, many years ago, I guess.
Before the IBM blew.
Yeah, I think it was. I'm not sure about the dates, but
yeah,
just the fact that someone put that together, a program to play chess when there was no computer to run this program, and then later they were able to run it, and this chess champion beat it. I think he beat it in less than 20 moves, but still said it's super impressive because there was this wasn't a thing when the guy built it, when the guy proposed it.
There wasn't even a way to make it work the way that we understand those things to work now.
Yeah, they put together the algorithm and it was there. Hey, here's the algorithm for this thing. Run it eventually when we're capable.
Hold on to this, they'll be useful later.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, David G, thank you so much for joining me today to talk about Alan Turing, his impact on everything that we do.
Thank you. It was super fun. Yeah.
Thanks for listening to the Frontier Podcast powered by Gun.io. We drop 2 episodes per week, so if you like this episode, be sure to subscribe on your platform of choice and come hang out with us again next week and bring all your internet friends. If you have questions or recommendations, just shoot us a Twitter DM at The Frontier Pod, and we'll see you next week.